Hi, welcome to Walking in Authority with Heather Smith. I hope you are doing amazing. First, I would like to apologize for not recording yesterday. I was trying to prepare for, us getting ready to leave and go out of town today. So we are so excited to get to go to a conference. We're very blessed that we get to attend this conference, and we all have a heart of expectant today. Heart of expecting today, excited for what God has for us this weekend. And yeah, we're just excited. I was sitting there and I was like, man, I really need to go get dressed. I need to go get dressed and prepare for this podcast. But I felt like Holy Spirit was like, no, you get to go as you are. And I'm like, Lord, not that I haven't recorded podcast in the natural, but I was like, let me get dressed this time and get myself together before I do another podcast looking like this. And Holy Spirit's like, no, you get to go like that. You get to go as you are. You get to not feel like you have to put all that makeup on or do all your hair. You get to go real, raw, and transparent. And I'm like, okay, all right. I wasn't even sure what I was going to talk about, but I really feel like God wants me to talk to you about just being real and transparent, being honest with how you are and how you're feeling and the situations and the circumstances that you're in. No, we don't want to dwell on those, you know what I mean? But it's important that you express to other people in your circle, the ones that you can trust with those feelings, the ones that you can trust with your situation, your circumstance, how you really are. You get to be honest with those people. You get to tell them, you know what, I'm not having a great day today. I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with that. Like, I thought this was going to happen and it hasn't happened. Like, I'm really dealing with a lot right now. And whenever you are transparent and honest with those around you that you can trust, then that will allow them to support you how God intends for you to be supported in that season or in that moment of your life. If someone asks you how you're doing and you say, oh, I'm doing great, everything's wonderful, I'm amazing, and deep down inside you're struggling with something, that is burying it and shoving it in a box or putting it in the closet. And God doesn't want you to do that. He wants you to work through your feelings and emotions. He doesn't want you to stay stuck in that. He wants you to deal with it, feel it, all the things, lay it at his feet, get the people to pray for you, have the people that God has surrounded around you to rally around you and to pray for you and encourage you and support you in those moments. If you're not honest and transparent with someone in that moment, most of the time they're not going to know. They're going to take your words for face value, or they're going to take your words for the truth, and they're going to believe you. Now, there may be, someone in your life that is like, no, I don't believe that, because I'm that type of person. If I know you and I ask you if you're doing okay and you're like, oh, I'm great, I'm doing good, I'm like, no, you're not. I don't believe you. I don't believe not one word you're saying. And so there could be people like that in your life. And if they say, no, like, I don't believe you, you're not okay, like something's wrong, take that as that second chance to be real and honest with them. If it's somebody that you can't really trust with those feelings and emotions and that circumstance, then no, I'm not telling you to tell them that, but go to someone who you can trust with your feelings and emotions and tell them how you are, tell them how you're feeling. I'm not sitting on here telling you that I'm going through a lot right now. I'm actually doing great. Like, that's real. That's really how I'm feeling. Something happened a few days ago that really took me back and had me feeling some type of way and in my feelings. And I just really had to lay it at God's feet and trust him. But I reached out to those that I trust around me, and I shared that with them. I let them pour into me, and I put it at God's feet, and I didn't try to hold it in, because when you're not honest with yourself and honest with the people that God placed around you, your prayer warriors, your pastors, your mentors, your sponsors, whoever that may be in your life, when you're not honest with them about how you're feeling, I feel like that gives the enemy that chance to creep in through that crack and run with it. And we get to stand up and be transparent with ourselves and with other people. Because whenever you're not, how are you really truly going to work through that? You know, people used to tell me a lot, like, Heather, you are very transparent with what's going on in your life. And I was like, you know what? I spent too many years of my life hiding behind the smiles, the makeup, the hairdo, the nice outfits, you know, and deep down inside, I was crumbling. I was falling apart. And I didn't let people know. I didn't let people know how I was feeling and what I was going through. And I learned over the years and through my healing that whenever you're honest and transparent with people, not only do they realize that they're not going through what you're, because there are people in the world that are going through what you're going through. You're not the only one that's dealing with the things that you're dealing with in life. And so whenever you're honest with people, it helps them to realize, hey, I'm not going through this alone. I'm not the only one dealing with it, because look, Heather's dealing with it, or look, this person's dealing with it. So it gives them a little bit of comfort and hope, knowing that they're not going through it alone. And then whenever they see you lay it at God's feet, and they see you walk it out with Jesus, and they see you trust God in that process, that right there shows the goodness of God. And it gives them hope that, well, if God can do it for her, and if she is walking out with God, and instead of allowing those emotions or feelings or situations or circumstance to take control of her life, she is facing it, or leaving it at God's feet and facing it head on with God, then that gives them the encouragement to do the same thing. So whenever you're transparent and you let somebody know what's going on in your life, that allows for God to be shown in those moments. Not everybody's life is perfectly put together. I don't care where you're at in your walk. I don't care where you're at in your career. I don't care where you're at in your business, your ministry. It doesn't matter where you're at. You're going to have those moments to where you're just struggling with something. And if you're transparent, if you're not transparent and you're making people think that your world is all great and gravy and cherries and ice creams and popsicles and all the things like that all the time, then it could have people stumble in their own walk, because they're comparing themselves to you, which comparison is the enemy. But however, people still deal with that, right? So whenever you're not transparent and you don't share your situations, and I'm not telling you to go share it with everybody or people who you may not trust, but I'm just saying, if you got to quit hiding what you're going through, because when you're not transparent, it can really affect somebody in the sense of thinking that what they're going through means that they are a failure and they're a mess up, because that person's life is perfectly put together. That person's life, they don't never go through anything. So if I'm going through something, that means that I must be a mess up. I must be a screw up. I must not be good enough for God to use. And that is the biggest lie that the enemy could ever tell somebody, that you cannot be used by God because of your past, current situation, or what you've been through, or what you said, or what you did, or what somebody done to you. That is the biggest lie that the enemy loves to use. And so I feel like when we're transparent with people, that shows them like, oh, okay, well, they're happy and great, and they've been walking with God for this long, or their business or their ministry is successful, but they still have bad days. So that means that it's okay for me to not be okay today, but I get to not stay here, and I get to trust God with my situation and where I'm at. Because there's too many people in this world that society has made them feel like that they have to put on that mask. They have to always be put together and always have it all figured out. And that is the complete opposite. Like, we're not perfect. We're not always going to have it figured out. We're not always going to have it put together. But see, whenever you have a life with God and you walk with God and you have that relationship with Him, He is the one that holds those pieces together. He is the one that gives you that strength to carry on about your day. He is the one that gives you that strength to walk in that fire. He's actually in the fire with you. And so being transparent has so many catalysts and things embedded into it that not only can give you strength, but can give other people strength. There's been so many times that I've been transparent in a moment and someone will tell me, Heather, you're a little bit too transparent. I said, there is no such thing as being too transparent, because everything that I've ever walked through, every problem I've ever faced, every situation that I've ever struggled with, somebody has dealt with that. Whether it be not as bad or even worse, whatever, they have dealt with that. And whenever I have been transparent with my moments, with my things, with my situations, someone always comes up to me or messages me or calls me and was like, man, I really needed to know that, because that gave me hope. That gave me, that inspired me, that encouraged me to know that I get to stop carrying this and I get to trust God with it. Because whenever people see you begin to trust God with it, then that encourages them to do the same thing. And you know what, as I'm sitting here doing this, it reminded me last night whenever I was studying and I was reading the word, and I write things down a lot of times when I'm reading, is because, well, it's either going to be something that I'm going to teach a Bible study on, or it's going to have weight at some point. And so now I realize why I wrote this down is because, you know, in the Bible it says, actually, let me turn to that. I've been in James lately. You know, faith without works is dead, right? So if you're telling people that you have faith, I got faith, I got faith, I got faith, but you're steadily not taking the action to it. You're not putting action to it. You're just stating that you have faith, but you're not walking in the direction or taking the steps necessary to show that faith or to allow God to move in that faith. So in James 2, and I read from the Complete Jewish Study Bible. I absolutely love it. In James 2:14, it says, what good is it, my brothers, if someone claims to have faith but has no actions to prove it? Is his faith able to save him? And then you skip down, or then you continue to read in 15. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food, and someone says to him, Shalom, keep warm and eat hearty, without giving him what he needs. What good does it do? Thus, faith by itself, unaccompanied by actions, is dead. There it is. Faith without works is dead. Faith takes action. But someone will say that you have faith and I have actions. Show me this faith of yours without the actions, and I will show you my faith by my actions. So it says you can talk about you have faith all day long, but unless you move and put action to it, it's not really showing faith. You show your faith by the actions that you take. And so you showing faith by the actions that you take increases someone else's faith, encourages them, inspires them to take those leaps of faith, to activate and grow and make their faith unshakable. If you're looking for this or this or this or whatever it may be, or you're wanting to be healed and be better and have freedom and be delivered, if you're not taking the act, and you talk about, I'm going to be free and I'm going to be healed and I'm going to be delivered and all the things like that, but you're not taking the necessary steps to allow God to do that in your life, you're showing other people what? It may be detrimental because you're sitting here speaking it and saying that you're going to have it. I'm going to have freedom. I'm going to have healing. I'm going to be delivered. And they're sitting here watching you not do anything, and you're not being healed and you're not being delivered and you're not having freedom. And so they're like, well, I don't understand. They're claiming that they have it and they have faith. But you have to walk towards that. You have to take those steps to allow God to heal you, to allow Him to give you freedom. You have to surrender it to have that deliverance. So your faith is shown by your actions, not by just by speaking the words, I have faith, out of your mouth. You know, and then you skip down to James 2:24. It says, you see that a person is declared righteous because of actions and not because of faith alone. So if you say you have faith, but you're not taking the actions, how do you say that you have faith? because it's not going to drop out of the sky. It's not going to fall out of nowhere. I mean, I'm not saying that God just don't all of a sudden give you a job sometimes, because he can do any and everything that he wants to do for the greater good, right? But most of the time it requires actions. Faith is action. Faith is an action word. It really is. And I know you feel like I kind of jumped around, but I felt like that your transparency in your situations and what you're dealing with can be a catalyst in somebody else's faith. It can be important that someone sees the transparency in you, and then they see next that you're not only speaking that you have faith, but you're taking the actions for those things. And then it shows them like, okay, I say I have faith, but I'm not going out and getting it. You're like, I want that job, I want that job, I want that job, but you're literally just sitting at the house and you're not doing nothing to get that job. Or you want that house or you want that car, but you're not doing nothing. You're just sitting at the house. You're not doing anything to get that job or that house. But then you want to blame it on God. Make that make sense? It doesn't. So in your transparency, you're showing people that you have this situation, this feeling, this emotion, this hard season, this trial, this tribulation, and you're choosing to take that, and you're choosing to place it at God's feet, because you have faith that if you place it at God's feet, then he's going to then give you freedom and healing from that. And he's going to work it out because you're going through it, but your faith is what has you placing it at God's feet. And then God can move mountains with the action that you took by placing it at his feet. So don't ever think that you can't be transparent with someone. I'm not telling you run around and tell everybody your problems and all the things like that. That's not what I'm saying to you. I'm saying that especially in the moments when God's telling you to be honest with that person, tell that person what you're going through, tell that person what you've been through. Do that, because in that moment, God is trying to use your transparency and then your action of faith and then what he's done in your life to then show his goodness, and then to get hope and inspiration and encouragement to somebody else. So transparency is key in healing. It's key in freedom. It's key in deliverance. It's key in ministering. It is key in so much, like so much. I felt if more people in this world were more transparent with what they were going through and allowed the people around them that God placed around them to also take action, this world would be a lot less havoc and not so many people would be going through it. I know that not everything that you go through is for everybody's ears, right? I get that. There's some things that I go through and I deal with silently with those that are really close to me, my pastor, God, first and foremost. And there's some things that God tells me to share, to be transparent with and share that with other people. And I make sure that I do that, because our walk, our story, what we've walked through, what we've overcome, our testimony, it says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. Like all of that is shedding light, is giving those who have no hope. It's giving them hope. It's giving them inspiration. It's giving them that desire, I feel like, to chase after what it is that you have that allows you to be that person in that storm, that allows you to go through what you're going through in that storm. It allows them to relate to you and to know that they're not alone in this world. Too many people feel like they're alone. Too many people feel like they are dealing with something that nobody else is dealing with. And that is a lie. That is a lie from the pits of hell. And it literally makes me upset. It gives me that holy anger, right? We as women of God, men of God, children of God, get to be more transparent. We get to be more open to sharing our testimony with people. Our testimonies is what encourages and uplifts people. There could be somebody sitting right next to you, and God is trying to tell you to share that story, to share whatever part of your story he's trying to get you to share, or trying to get you to say something that maybe you don't realize that they're going to relate to, and you don't say it. And so then that person goes on about their day needing something, or have prayed to God and asked for something, and God was trying to answer their prayers by the words that he told you to share. So you never know what that transparency is being used for in that moment. So take off your mask, take off you trying to pretend to be this perfectly put together person, and show up undone, show up wrecked, show up a mess, show up not having it figured out, show up all the ways that God tells you to show up, because in those moments is whenever he's going to use you in the mightiest way that he could have ever possibly used you. I know, I get it. We don't like to feel like we don't have it all together. We don't like to feel like we don't have it all figured out. We don't like to feel like we are showing up messy. But you know what? When you show up messy and undone and wrecked and not have it figured out and not have it all put together, when you show up like that, people see the realness in you. And then they can really, truly see the work of God in your life. I know that some of the most influential people in my life, their transparent moments, their undone moments, their wrecked moments, their moments they didn't have it put together, was the most encouraging thing to me ever. Because I seen that, oh, well, even the people that really have it together per se, or their life is great, or whatever your case may be, they're going through things as well. So whenever I go through something, I don't get to beat myself up about it. I don't get to feel down and out, and I don't get to feel unworthy, and I don't get to feel nothing like that, because everybody has those undone days, those wrecked days, those days of feeling like it's just not working out, or they just feel a mess and they can't get anything right today. Like, everybody has those moments. And if you're transparent about your moments, that encourages other people to share their moments. And then whenever we're all sharing moments like that, God begins to move and faith begins to increase, and people begin to run after their Father in heaven, because then they begin to realize that God has got me. And all of the mess and the everything falling apart, and all of the things that I don't have figured out, I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to have it put together, because I can lay it at God's feet, and that's where I get to leave it. So if we as women and men of God, children of God, aren't transparent in those moments, how are the people that don't even know who God is, how are they going to believe that the God that we serve can help them? We know that he can, but if they see a bunch of Christians walking around and pretend like we have our life together all the time, how are they going to see that God can be there in their mess, that God can help them and use them in their undone moments and their wrecked moments and the moments where they just don't have it together? They need to see that. They need to see our moments where we just don't have it together. It's important. It's important, brothers and sisters in Christ. It's important that we share those moments. We take off these masks. We stop putting on all of this stuff to hide down what's beside us. I mean, inside of us. I'm not telling you not to put your makeup on, because I'm going to go put some makeup on in a minute, and I'm going to do my hair, and I'm going to get dressed and all the things. That's not what I'm telling you. I came like this on purpose and not putting on the makeup like I wanted to in that moment, because God said, no, you get to tell my people that they get to stop wearing a mask. They get to stop dressing up their life with all these fancy words and all the things that they use, and just trying to make it seem like it's perfect. They get to take that off, and they get to quit doing that, because You're definitely not helping yourself, and you're surely not being a testament of what a walk with God is like. No, God doesn't want us to struggle, but we do have those struggles. We do have those moments to where we just feel like, oh, people get to know that. People get to see that in you. It's important. It's not helping anybody if you're pretending, and it's surely not helping yourself if you're pretending to always have it together and to always have your life figured out, because I don't care who you are. The president, the pastor, the bishop, the apostle, the elder, I don't care who you are. You don't always have it together, and you surely don't have it all figured out. And if you do, or if you think you do, you're lying to yourself, because nobody has it all figured out. Nobody. I don't care who you are. You don't have it all figured out. You don't. And, last night when I was writing this down, I really honestly thought it was going to be something that I was going to talk about when I taught Bible study again at church. But I feel like that it was exactly for this moment right now. And so that's just another thing that I feel like I get to tell you, is that whenever God is telling you to write something down, write it down, because you never know what he's going to have you use it for. When he's telling you to say something and be transparent in that moment, you never know what he's going to use that for. So be transparent. Say the things, write the things, do the things that he tells you to do, because everything has purpose. Everything. There was no coincidences. Me and the ladies got done talking about that last night while we were watching a Priscilla Shire interview. We were talking about coincidences. There's no coincidences in the kingdom. He has you write things down. He has you say things. He has you meet people. He has things happening not by coincidence. There's no such thing as a coincidence in the kingdom. Everything has purpose, holds purpose. There are divine appointments. There are divine words that you get to say, divine transparency moments that you get to, that God uses to change people's lives. So be transparent when God is telling you to. If you feel like you get to share something or a part of your story, whether it is uncomfortable and scary and it just makes you want to feel like you want to throw up, or your whole body's shaking on the inside, but I'm telling you, that is when God is trying to use you in that moment, and the enemy doesn't want you to. He doesn't want you to be transparent in that moment. He doesn't want you to. You get to be transparent. You get to share not just the amazing things of your life, but you get to share those moments where you're struggling, and you get to share those moments where you look a mess, okay? You get to share those moments, because those moments God uses to change people's lives. To change people's lives. God is an amazing God, and what he's done for you, he can and will do for someone else. But it takes men and women of God being transparent in their moments. So these people who don't even know who God is, or maybe they know who God is, but they need a little bit of hope and encouragement, and they need your transparency to realize that God can do the same thing for them that he's done for you. So I really pray, and I hope that this touched your heart, and you begin to be more transparent with how you're doing. And don't forget to share this, because there's other people in your life that need to hear what God is trying to tell them. And that is to take off that mask, take off that I have it all put together persona, because nobody has it all put together. Excuse me. And we get to be honest about that. We get to be honest, completely transparent about that in our life. I hope that this touched you, and I pray that whoever watches this, that you have the eyes to hear. The eyes to see and the ears to hear, and the wisdom and the knowledge to get what God is trying to give you today. Or whenever you may read this, tonight, next week, next year, next month, whatever it may be, whenever you're watching this, I pray that you take everything that God is trying to give you in this moment, and you use it, and you apply it to your life, and you begin to be a transparent person. because God is going to use that to advance the kingdom, to inspire and to change somebody's life. Thank you for watching. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for sharing it. Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And know that just even by pushing the share button, you could be changing somebody's life just by sharing it. Because you never know who on your timeline or your friend or whoever, if you're feeling urged to share it with a specific person, do that, because God's trying to do something in that. I love you guys. I pray you have an amazing weekend. Be safe. Know that you are awesome, amazing, and you walk in authority. Bye.